Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And today we have a special guest with us on Cool Your Heels with Felicia Farber, who wrote the book Ice Queen. It is about cyberbullying and sexting. And I will let Felicia introduce herself and let you know what sexting is all about. So good afternoon, Felicia.
Good afternoon, Lillian, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. Hello to everybody out in the United States and all over the world. I'm here to talk about my new book, which Lillian just held up, Ice Queen. And it is a novel about sexting, cyberbullying, cyber harassment, which are teen behaviors, teen electronic behaviors that have become really prevalent in our society today. And if you're not familiar with sexting, sexting is when you send or receive any type of image, video, message of a sexually explicit nature. So if you just take a picture or you receive it, either is considered to be sexting. And it's become so commonplace right now because almost all teens have cell phones or access to them. And studies have shown that the majority of adults between 18 and 82, believe it or not, sext, almost 90%, and over half of teens sext. And the reason that I ended up writing this book is because unbeknownst to most people, teens and adults, if you are under the age of majority in your state, then the acts of sexting are illegal. So Ice Queen explores in a fictional context what happens to teens in real life situations who get caught up in a sexting scandal.
And it's something for you folks to think about. During the 50s and 60s, they accomplished that by the telephone. But it's also very relative to the peeping Toms in windows or the Auvage who used to go into bathrooms and peek up the stalls with cameras. You don't think about this stuff, but it's all very much connected. What it is it takes away your privacy. And one of the things you need to know about is what can happen if one of those pictures go public. So Felicia, tell people or warn people what can happen.
Okay, so without doing a spoiler alert in my book.
Okay, just give a general idea of how the law.
General idea. So believe it or not, teen sexting is considered in many states to be child pornography. So our laws that exist in order to target adult sexual predators, in order to protect children from exploitation, end up scooping up unknown teens and prosecuting them the same way as a child pornographer, which is crazy. So, really that is my mantra, that teen sexting is not child pornography, but unfortunately, under our existing laws and under many laws that, are just very, very old and antiquated, there's no distinction between these behaviors. And only about half of our states have sexting laws, and only a fraction of them do distinguish child pornography from sexting. So this is an issue that is so serious because it is so common, because teens these days live their lives online and they think nothing of sending provocative photos to one another. And the problem is that by the act of taking that picture, they've just created child pornography. And by sending it, now they've distributed and transmitted child pornography. And the person that receives it now and shares it possesses child pornography. So everybody, for instance, I'm in New Jersey, everybody under the age of 18 that partakes in this has now committed essentially criminal acts. which could fall under child pornography statutes. And if you ask somebody for a photo, that could be under child enticement or luring. So these things are all very serious, with penalties such as jail time, fines, probation, sex offender registries. So, this is something that everybody needs to know about.
And in addition, if you want to protect your son or daughter, some pedophile can also come across their picture and add it to their list of favorite pictures and exchange them with other pedophiles. And yes, I know everybody's going to groan, but this is how those people overseas entice girls by blackmailing them into white slavery or black slavery. It doesn't matter. If they have your picture and some sheik overseas likes what he sees, it's very easy to spirit you out of the country. And you need to keep these things in mind.
It's true. Children don't realize, who is trolling on these sites out there, whether it's an app, gaming, social media, that there are people who impersonate other adolescents. And there are people who are sexual predators or who are sex traffickers. So, once children get out there, they're not safe, and so it's really the parents' job to make sure that they're keeping their kids safe. And so I liken this to the simple playground, where if your kids go on the playground, or your backyard, you peek out the window and you could see what they're doing and you could see them happy playing. And if things get out of hand, if somebody, pushes your child or hurts them, or your child is doing something inappropriate, you could go running out and stop that behavior. But what happens when their playground now is online and you have no idea what they're doing? So how do you monitor that? How do you regulate that? How do you stop it? So that is the challenge today for all of the parents and educators out there who might not understand technology, or even if they do, are not really actively monitoring their children and know what they're up to.
Absolutely. And that also goes to parents who take pictures of their kids. A lot of those pictures are pretty innocent. But if the kids are at a party or they're getting ready to go to their prom, you put them into stupid poses. And you really do need to be careful about having your child stand over a heat or where the air blows up, and like Marilyn Monroe, the dress goes up. That's fine for Marilyn. She's over the age. She's a consenting adult. But it's not all right when you do it with a 15 or a 16-year-old girl. It's not all right to have them take selfies when they're in their bras and panties. Not anymore. And a picture of a little cute kid naked at 2 years old, while frowned upon, is not too bad. When they get a little bit older, it starts getting bad. And you have to know the difference. Which leads us to the other topic that the book also addresses, cyberbullying, which has gone up tremendously. And a lot of kids have taken their lives because they really don't know how to protect themselves, nor do their parents.
Yeah, thank you, Lillian. So for anybody who's not familiar with exactly what cyberbullying is, it's called electronic bullying. It's basically bullying that has moved online. So it's intimidation, threats, shaming, public shaming and humiliation, or harassment, but now it's online. And it's typically repeat acts, and they're intentional, and they can be extremely, extremely damaging, because once something gets out there online, then it can go anywhere. You lose control over where it ends up, who sees it, and it potentially lives on forever. So, one thing I want to point out early on here is most people may not be aware of, when there are acts of intimidation, mistreatment, rumors, harassment, anything, offensive online, it doesn't just hurt the victim, it hurts the perpetrator too, because who's ever doing that now has an online reputation also. So that online reputation stays with them for their future when they want to apply to a school, a job, get into an organization, even dating. Who in dating doesn't Google the person and see what's out there? So, it's something that everybody has to pay attention to, because if you or your child are the ones that are doing something potentially illegal or offensive, it's not going away. And now you have a bad reputation too. So kids need to realize that.
Absolutely, especially when they're now saying that by the time children are 10 years old, they're more sophisticated and more advanced in technology than their own parents. Now, I have to admit, I got 3 grandkids, and while the two 14-year-olds are pretty good, my 7-year-old is awesome. He knows how to use my cell phone better than I will ever learn it, and he's chomping at the bit for me to upgrade to 12. And he's only 7. And I'm sure he'll know what to do with 12 and 12 Pro a lot better than I would if I spent hours with the instruction book. So think about that. And
Oh,
parents,
yeah, it is true. Kids are younger and younger. They are more sophisticated with technology, and the average age of phone ownership, first phone ownership in the US is 10. So, that would fit that your grandson is 7. And people are putting electronic devices into their kids' hands. I've seen it at 18 months, 2 years old. So from a very young age, they are proficient. By the time they're 7, they're a master. And why it's so relevant to talk about these topics is because there are approximately 42 million adolescents in the United States. That's 13% of our population is between the ages of 10 and 19. So that's an awful lot of people that are first learning and exploring now. Early curiosity, sexual exploration has moved online. So now it's in the digital media. So these kids that normally were on the playground, now they're gaming, and they are on apps and every kind of social media, Reddit, Tumblr, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. That is where Instagram, they are living their lives.
absolutely. And we're not just talking on phones, folks, but tablets and Alexa. And in the car, you can get it in the car.
Echo Auto lets you make the most of your time in the car.
Please quiet.
Microphone.
Please stop.
Echo Auto.
Alexa, please quiet. Anyway.
That's pretty funny, but that happens.
Sorry about that, folks. The other thing I also would like to mention is parents don't think twice about taking pictures and posting them online while their kids do funny things. And that's the other thing. You have to make sure that your kids know the difference between what is acceptable to put online for social media and what really needs to be kept off. And one other thing with internet TV, you have to be very careful because those books about the future are right. Eventually, they'll be able to look into your living room with that TV set. So you need to be careful about what you do with all the electronics that you keep at home. What do you hope that teens will take away from your book?
Well, what I'm looking for is a conversation starter, which is the reason why my book actually has discussion questions at the end to facilitate a dialogue about this, because I've gotten amazing feedback so far. I've only released my book weeks ago, and I think almost every single person that has read my book comes back to me and says, I didn't know that. Really? I had no idea that could happen. So it's that sharing of knowledge, that eye-opening, enlightenment that this is real. It's a fictional storyline, but it's about a very real topic and even more real consequences. So I'm looking for that awareness where kids now understand that this innocent photo that they could send to, somebody, a boy or girl that they like, could just blossom out of control and snowball into a legal disaster that also has, severe social and emotional consequences. So my book gets people to think about what happens if you are involved with sexting. how scary is that? How do you get out of that? And how helpless do you feel when you're put in that situation? So the idea is that this serves as a deterrent so that people will never find themselves in a situation like that, because they'll think twice if they're pressured into giving a picture, of themselves that they really don't want to do, or they've been doing it and they think nothing of it. The tide can turn, and then they lose control if a boyfriend becomes an ex-boyfriend, or a girlfriend decides to become vindictive. Then we get into the whole revenge porn area, which my book talks about too. That's part of my storyline. And for people that don't know, revenge porn is really non-consensual pornography. It's a little bit of a misnomer there, but basically it's when somebody's private, nude, partially nude sexual images are sent around without their consent. And that is a very horrible and scary thing. And Lillian, you mentioned earlier suicide. And yes, there are people that do take their lives because of that. That's the extreme, but that can happen and has happened.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, and teenagers of all ages, we have asked Felicia to please read some chapters from her book, The Ice Queen. Okay. She has green in here, so against my green screen, it sort of fades out, but you can still see the
that's why
face.
I held mine up before, so you can see what the camera really looks like there.
Give you an understanding what's going on. And before she proceeds, if you have any questions, or do you want to follow up with questions from the book tomorrow from 11 to 12 Eastern, we're going to have a question and answer period. Please email me at LSC, that's initial L, small, initial S, small, C, initial C, at passionateworldtalkradio.com. And I will provide you with the phone number and the PIN number so you can call in and ask your question. And in between then, if you've already run out to Barnes and Nobles and bought your book before the herd caught up with you, she will be able to give you an electronic signature, or even better, if you send her an SASE, that means the stamps on both envelopes. The first envelope's addressed to her, the second envelope is addressed back to you. She will send you a bona fide signature, which you should get, because she's written other books and she's building up quite a name and a reputation for herself. So, Felicia, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. So I just want to say that I see scrolling along the bottom of the screen is my email. So please feel to reach out and ask me questions if you can't make it tomorrow. And also on my website, which is feliciafarber.com, there is a contact page, so you could also get in touch with me that way if it's easier. And I also have an in the news section, which has recent stories about real life people that things like I've been discussing have happened to, along with an article that I wrote that was published in New Jersey Lawyer magazine that talks about the state and federal laws with respect to sexting, cyberbullying, and cyber harassment. So that'll give you a bit more technical information than I was sharing today. But if you're interested in this topic, it's a burgeoning topic, and we have evolving laws right now in almost every state, and we don't even have federal sexting laws yet. This is new, and it is evolving as we speak. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to read the first 3 chapters of my book, and this is an introduction. So I hope that you enjoy it and you will want to hear more. The first chapter is called The Gatekeepers. I'm having serious second thoughts as my mother's Ford Explorer approaches the Cedar Woods Community Clubhouse. The allure surrounding this must-go-to pool party suddenly evaporates, and I clutch my stomach as intense surges of panic stab at my insides like sharp little knives. Drawing a deep, calming breath, I try to shake off the doubts rattling around my skull. What if no one talks to me? What if they all stand around whispering and laughing at me like in school? My best friend Kayla's warning haunts me. You think they're not going to make your life miserable just because you're at a pool party? The explorer rolls to a stop in front of the vast green lawn encircling the stately brick clubhouse. My nose twitches from the smell of fresh-cut grass as I crane my head out the window to scan the grounds for the Ice Queen and her things. Honey, my mom shouts, I've asked you twice what time you want to be picked up and you keep ignoring me. I stop chipping at my pink rose nail polish and glance up. Oh, sorry, Mom, didn't hear you. You never seem to hear me. I'm going to meet your father at his office and go out to dinner. Should we get you on the way back? I don't know yet. I'll text you. I slide out of the SUV, brushing the tiny pink flakes off my lap. My eyes dart around the perimeter to see if anyone is watching. Small clusters of people are scattered around here and there, some near the road, some by the clubhouse entrance, but no one seems to be paying any attention to me. My fingertips cling to the edge of the car door as I make my final decision. Should I really do this? What if Kayla's right? I push out a deep breath, then swing the door closed. Just make sure it's before midnight, my mom yells through the open window. Your father's been working around the clock all week on this huge case and he's exhausted. He doesn't want another late night. Okay, Mom, I call over my shoulder, adjusting the strap of my new bikini top that slipped out from under my turquoise cami. At the sound of a high-pitched beep emanating from the bottom of my beach bag, I dig my fingers around until I find my phone. It's a Snapchat from Rachel, my other best friend. Good luck. I immediately send a message back. Going in now. Am I really stupid? Yes, don't go. Need to, I reply. You really think Hunter Hartman will be there? Hope so. Leave if things get bad. Okay. I slip the phone back into my bag and continue up the long path. If I get to talk to Hunter Hartman, this will all be worth it. We're in the same psychology class and he always says hello, but we've never actually had a conversation. He sits with his people on the far side of the room by the windows, and I spend every class trying not to stare at those incredible light green eyes and muscular arms. The knots in my stomach tighten and travel up my throat as I near the front gate. I stop before I cross through, my legs feeling like heavy tree stumps, the tips of the knives in my gut growing sharper. I give myself a pep talk. I can fit in here just like everybody else. There's nothing wrong with me. No matter what happens, don't cry. Not in front of them. As I take a baby step toward the main entrance, an animated voice bellows, Blair, I'm so glad you came. It's great to see you. Mrs. Levine rushes over and plants a warm, welcoming kiss on my cheek, her dark ponytail grazing my bare shoulder. I know I got invited to this party because of her, and unlike her saccharine sweet daughter, Alyssa, who my friends I call Splenda, she's generally excited whenever she sees me. Great to see you too, I say. Are you all ready for finals next week, she asks. I told Alyssa that after tonight, she has to study every minute. She has physics and pre-calculus on Monday and English on Tuesday. What about you? I only have one on Monday, but the rest of the week is going to be horrible. Mrs. Levine pats my upper arm, her cherry red lips extending into a smile. Oh, you don't have to worry. You're such a good student. I always see your name on the honor roll. Alyssa, on the other hand, well, one more week and we're all free, I break in, trying to change topics. Thankfully, she follows my lead. Your mother said you're lifeguarding again this summer. I nod, discreetly looking past her to see who's already there. She keeps talking, gesticulating with her hands, waving them back and forth in front of my face. That's wonderful that you're making some money. Alyssa's going to that performing arts camp in upstate New York again, the one that cost us a small fortune. I wish she'd get a job too. I hope you don't tell her that. She really loves that camp, I say. I always tell her that she should be more like you. Uh-oh, you're only causing me problems. I force a polite smile and nod some more as Mrs. Levine drones on, regarding me with stories of her own teenage jobs. I've completely stopped listening, and I'm discreetly trying to figure out how to escape when another mother interrupts looking for the paper cups. Mind if I borrow her? The petite woman asks as she places a hand on Mrs. Levine's forearm. We need to set up the drinks area. Please take her. No problem, I say. Once I'm free, I practically dive through the main gates, but I have no luck. As soon as I step inside, I find myself blockaded by Splenda and her greeting committee, Molly Mullet and BM. These girls are not and never will be my friends. The mullet is really Molly DeFrancesca, one of the leads in the spring musical. She prances around with her nose tilted upward like she's a Broadway star who's too good to associate with the common folk. Back in sixth grade science, when we learned there was a tropical molly fish, everyone started calling her Molly Mullet. My friends and I shortened it just to Mullet in high school when we got tired of her holier-than-thou attitude. We could have called her Bosque, since her bottom half has a striking resemblance to a pear, but we went with the fish. And BM doesn't actually stand for the gross body function. The initials represent the two words that best describe Erin McDonald, big mouth. The whole school calls her BM. It's because Erin makes herself into a caricature by accentuating her giant lips with dark burgundy lipstick and dark liner. At first glance, all you see is this larger-than-life mouth popping out at you like a 3D horror flick. And it doesn't help that she's one of the biggest gossipers in the school. Oh, you decided to come, Splenda remarks in a cold tone, her embarrassment at seeing me dangling off each word. Of course, if our moms were watching, Splenda would be masquerading as my adoring friend. But there's no need for pretense now. You know you don't belong here, BM chimes in. You invited me, I retort, smiling as pleasantly as possible at Splenda. You weren't supposed to come, though. You know my mother made me invite you. Splenda turns towards her friends and assumes a defensive air. It wasn't my fault. Last thing I want is a confrontation. But what am I supposed to do? I've had it with Splenda's saccharine sweetness. Now that she's showing off for her friends, the artificial facade is gone and the real Splenda, the nasty, spiteful one, is fully exposed. She may think she's great, but I know everything about this girl, like she wore pull-ups through 4th grade and always was such a spaz growing up, no one ever wanted her on their team in gym class. I'm not going to let her keep me from this party. I have to say something. The best I can come up with is, your mother is so nice. What happened to you? She doesn't know you're such a freak, Splenda fires back. There's that F word that I hate more than anything. If I could, I'd remove it from the dictionary. My entire body stiffens and my cheeks start to burn. I can't stop my long suppressed anger and frustration from bubbling to the surface and spilling out. Yeah? You didn't think so when you hid in my house after your nose job, I say. Even though Splenda didn't want anyone to know the real reason for her Christmas time operation, Mrs. Levine had been straight up with my mom. Splenda gasps, as if shocked by my accusation. She places her right hand over her heart like she's saying the Pledge of Allegiance and loudly announces, I had a deviated septum. Everyone knows that. The gloves are off. Why pretend there's anything left of our fake friendship? The only thing deviated is your ability to tell the truth, I retort. Are you calling her a liar? Molly Mullet asks, hands on her wide hips. I glare at the mullet. Was I talking to you? I think you should leave now, BM declares with an authoritative edge, folding her thick arms over her humongous chest. Is she really telling me to leave before I even walk in? I'm speechless at first and don't know how to react. If I let them chase me away, I'll never get to the good people at this party. I hate doing it, but I have to match their rudeness or they'll think I'm weak and afraid and they can just squash me. I fully recover enough to stammer. I didn't know you could think. I thought your big mouth just moves by itself. The mullet's awful fish face looks like it's about to start spouting out steam instead of water. Blair, you don't belong at this party. She thrusts her right index finger between my eyes as she enunciates each word in a harsh staccato. There is no room for losers like you here. Now the L word. It's 3 against 1 and they're relentless. I have to stop their attack. Fight fire with fire. You're right. There's no room for me or anybody else here because of your big butt. I extend out my arms, simulating the immense size of the mullet's pear-shaped rear end. This is obviously not the first time she's heard a butt joke, and she comes right back at me. At least I have a body and I'm not a prepubescent little twig like you. I happen to be rather self-conscious about my skinny freckled body, but I try to think of a clever response, spitting something else out that I'd never normally say. Hey, this little twig broke the school record this year for the 50-meter backstroke. What have you broken lately? Your kitchen chairs? You're such a bitch, Blair, Splenda spews, her face hot crimson. I know from one look at my former friend that I've won this bottle, and I need to get out of here fast. With my head held high, I throw Splenda the widest, phoniest grin I can muster, and I brush past the nasty trio, flicking my wrist in a triumphant wave. Well, thanks so much for the invite, I call over my shoulder. As I distance myself from the rotten threesome, I can practically feel the icy shards their eyes fire into my back. I don't need to hear their exact words to know they're cursing me out big time. I walk about 20 more yards, stop, breathe heavily, and squeeze my eyes closed. Here I am, so worried about the Ice Queen and her things when just getting through the front door was a disaster. Maybe I can skip out back and head to Betty Boo's for double fudge cinnamon graham cracker ice cream with my real friends before things get any worse. Chapter 2, The Party. I stand on the edge of the expansive stone patio behind the brick clubhouse, searching for someone, anyone I can hang out with. But there's hardly any people here yet. Behind the large rectangular swimming pool, the grounds are completely deserted. The clay tennis and basketball courts adjacent to the pool are also empty. I've arrived way too early. Now what? I feel my pulse accelerate and the stomach knots claw back up. Standing here alone, like I'm on display, only highlights that I'm an unwelcome intruder. I'm fair game for another encounter with Splenda, or worse, the Queen and her things. I need to do something fast. I spot a small group who've started a pickup game on the sandy volleyball court to the left side of the concrete pool deck. I can't make out any of their faces, but at the moment, they seem to be my best bet. As I approach the net, I call out, "Hey, can I play?" A boy from my Spanish class, dressed in orange Hawaiian flowered swim trunks, glances over his shoulder and says, "Sure, go on that side. They could use some help." My eyes follow his pointer finger across the net. "We really don't need any help," a short girl with glasses on the other side objects. "But if you want, you can play over here." "Thanks," I say with a smile, grateful to be out of the spotlight. The players all wait for me to move to an open spot in front of the net before resuming their game. I recognize most of them from school, but to my delight, no one questions my presence at this Class A event. They all just hit the ball over the net and move through the rotation, making me part of the lineup. After about half an hour of playing, a loud rap song bursts from the clubhouse speakers, and it begins to feel like more of a party. With Eminem's lyrics hanging in the air, we play through the deepening twilight. Several more kids join the game until there are 9 players on my side and 10 on the other. Some of my teammates joke around and a few side conversations pop up, but the first time anyone talks to me is when I score 4 points in a row on my serve. Then a tall girl in the center cheers, "Woo-hoo!" and another in the back row gives me a high five. After that, I'm left alone, which is totally fine with me. When it's too dark to see the ball and we're smacking at shadows, we call it quits. I'm both nervous and excited to rejoin the rest of the party. The volleyball games have given me new confidence that I can fit in here, and the once empty grounds are now bustling with party goers. Maybe Hunter Hartman is here too. As I follow my teammates back to the main area, I notice that the strong halogen beams radiating off the clubhouse roof illuminate most of the patio and pool, but leave the grassy section behind the deep end in total darkness. I derive some comfort in knowing that I can slip away to the back field if I need quick camouflage. The hip-hop beats pound more intensely as I make my way toward the food and beverage tables lined up under the rear awning of the clubhouse. I'm happy, kind of dance walking along, almost forgetting where I am, until I have to instantly sober up. The shapeshifters are on a collision course right for me. There's no way to avoid them. The shapeshifters are 2 awful girls, Meryl and Christina, who transform themselves into whatever will make them popular or look good for college. Starting in middle school, if a girl was having a bat mitzvah, they'd be her new best friends just to get invited. When yearbook volunteers were needed, they were suddenly photography buffs so they could buddy up with the cool kids by taking their pictures. They became avid environmentalists when a high school science teacher was looking to start an ecology club, and they were diehard soccer fans when the boys' varsity soccer coach was looking for stat girls to operate the scoreboard. They just finished a stint as the backstage managers for the spring musical, so they could get invites to all the cast parties. Sickening. Blair, one of the shapeshifters says to me, her eyes round with surprise. Didn't expect to see you here. I try to match her level of astonishment. Didn't expect to see you here either. The other shapeshifter jumps in. Well, we were invited. So was I exclaim. Who invited you? The first shapeshifter has the nerve to ask. Alyssa. Who invited you? Same. I nod. What a coincidence. The first shapeshifter eyeballs the second, then says, we've got to go. See ya. I force my lips into a smile. Yeah, see ya. That was so awkward. When I reach the food tables, I'm thrilled that they have 2 6-foot heroes and some large bowls of macaroni salad. Otherwise, I'd be eating potato chips and cheese doodles for dinner. The amazing smells of the fresh bread, deli meats, and onions practically make me drool. After I help myself to a healthy wedge of an Italian hero, I slide over to the drinks. As I pour a raspberry iced tea, I glance around to see who else I know and whether I have to watch out for more trouble. Although I haven't spotted Hunter yet, I'm happy that the people around me are busy in their own little groups and no one's paying attention to me. No one except Thing 2. Is that a new purse, Blair? I didn't know Walmart was having a sale this week. She mocks as she comes from behind, delivering a sharp elbow blow into my side as she reaches for a diet soda from an ice-filled plastic tub. I whirl around, relieved that there are no other things in my immediate vicinity. Thing 2 is alone. I'm very tempted to dump my iced tea over the rotten girl's head as payback for the nasty jab, but I decide not to waste my drink. She and her group of things have gotten increasingly meaner over the years, and whenever they see me, they take aim and fire. The nicest comment a thing ever made to me was on one winter morning when there was no humidity and my hair actually looked good. The thing said, "Where's the rat's nest, Blair? You must not have had time to put your finger in the socket today." I never respond to any of their taunts, but at the moment, my ribs hurt from the elbow strike, and I'm in hyper-defensive mode from the other ugly encounters. My mind is blank at first, and I can't think of a fitting comeback. But then I catch a glimpse of her fluorescent lime green eyeshadow. I thought you always knew when Walmart sales are, since that's where you get all your makeup. Maybe you should rush over there right now and get some more flattering shades. You're such a bitch, Blair, Thing 2 wails. I'm going to call the exterminator to get rid of all the rats. She storms away, no doubt in search of backup. Part of me is proud for standing up for myself, but another part regrets sinking to her level. I should have just ignored her like always and not let her see she got to me. My friends and I decided long ago that our best approach to dealing with all these rotten girls was to brush them off, pretending that we just didn't care what they said and they weren't even worth responding to. Tonight, I'd broken our golden rule, plunging into their meanness right alongside them, and I am mad at myself for it. But no time to self-reflect. I need to get out of here fast before the whole swarm of things comes looking for me. I slip away to the farthest picnic tables, wandering around for several minutes, struggling to eat while balancing my cup and plate. I don't dare sit down. If Splenda the Ice Queen or things find me sitting alone in the dark, I'll be instantly dropped to Class D, the only level worse than mine, reserved for derelicts and dropouts. Once I get rid of my plate and can hold the second half of my hero sandwich with one hand, I make a wide circle around the pool deck looking for a friendly face. I come up empty. My phone rings in my bag, and since I have nothing better to do, I answer it. "Are you there yet?" Kayla shrieks in my ear, her voice brimming with excitement. "I'm here," I say, trying to sound more enthusiastic than I feel. "Tell me everything. Who's there? Have you talked to anyone? Did you see Hunter?" "Not yet, but the party's just picking up now. I'll fill her in later on Splenda, Thing 2, and the Shapeshifters." So, are the queen and the things there? Who are you looking at right now? It would be so much easier to just FaceTime her so she could see the party for herself, but that would be social suicide. Instead, I report Artie the ass grabber is chatting with Brad Wallington near the pool steps. And, oh, is Brad still as inflated as ever? Yup. I guess there's a reason people call him HGH. He's either on human growth hormones or he sticks an air pump in his mouth every day and switches it on high. I giggle. He really does look that way. Who else do you see? Bonnie Landau. She's on a lounge chair stabbing at her phone like she's in the middle of a fight. Ugh, she's so annoying. Rachel started calling her Enema this year because she's in all her classes and she says she sucks up to her teachers so badly she might as well live up their butts. That makes me laugh out loud. I've seen Enema in action for myself. Is there anybody good there? You haven't mentioned one person that I'd want to talk to, Kayla remarks. I do a 360, but there's no one I want to talk to either. What am I doing here? I can't help asking myself the same old questions that have plagued me on innumerable occasions. What makes these kids think that they're better than me? How did they get to be popular? Do you have to make yourself popular, or do other people make you that way? Can a nice person be popular, or is being mean a prerequisite? Hi, Blair, a male voice beckons from behind. I'm surprised to see you here. Kayla, I gotta go, I say, whirling around to see who's actually talking to me. It's lucky Lenny Krasinski, wearing his usual lopsided grin. Why are you surprised, I ask. Is everyone here gonna give me a hard time tonight? Well, I thought you of all people would be studying every minute this weekend. He thinks I study all the time? He's the one who's tied with Rachel for class valedictorian. What do you mean by me of all people? Oh, I just meant that you're one of the few people I know who has as many AP classes and finals as I do next week. I roll my eyes and blow out a loud breath. I'm going to be catatonic by Friday. Lucky Lenny chuckles. Sometimes I wonder how some of these teachers can be so idiotic. Like in physics, how does he expect us to know such an obscene amount of material in such a short time? Or US history, I add. There's going to be 3 new chapters on the final. He adjusts his wiry glasses and slants his neck. Have you found anyone who understands those calc problems in chapter 20? I shake my head. Although Lucky Lenny isn't very appealing to look at with his stringy hair and pointy features, he's non-judgmental and easy to talk to. Basically, a welcome relief from the earlier hostility I've encountered. Still, Lenny is about as uncool as you can get. My friends and I know without a doubt that he would never be allowed near a Class A party if he didn't let the things cheat off of him in school. That's one of the reasons we call him Lucky. The other is that the scrawny little guy is a natural long-distance runner. In the fall, he won the state championship in boys cross-country track. We chatted up for about 15 minutes, long enough for me to finish my sandwich and check out the action in the pool. The Ice Queen and her things are all flitting around in the shallow end, surrounded by oodles of adoring guys, everyone giggling and flirting like mad. The girls are all sporty, skimpy bikini tops with their long hair swept back and matching ponytails. Nauseating. Why would I even think that this abominable group might not be here? It would be like Brie Larson or Jennifer Lawrence missing the Oscars. The boys are splashing the girls relentlessly now, lunging for their waists, hoisting them in the air, then tossing them into the water. High-pitched squeals and girly cries for help pierce my eardrums. Splenda and the mullet jump into the queen's cauldron to aid the helpless females and immediately begin flailing their arms and screeching the same sickening way. The shapeshifters are in there too, of course. But what really turns my stomach is seeing shapeshifter Meryl try to climb onto Hunter Hartman's shoulders. I was hoping the party would give me the chance to hang out with Hunter outside of school, but clearly that's not going to happen. He seems pretty content with this annoying girl latched onto his back like a blood-sucking leech. If I stay here any longer, my hero sandwich is going to come back up the wrong way. My girlfriends asked me to take pictures, but not of this. Excuse me, Lenny, I cough out. I gotta go. Then I head as far away from the pool as possible. Chapter 3, Davy and Frankie. The massive green grass field behind the deep end is shrouded in darkness. Although a sliver of moon slices through the jet black sky, It does little to illuminate the murky ground. Outside the glow of the clubhouse lights, it's almost impossible to see. I inch along the damp grass as my eyes try to adjust to the inky blackness, the only light source from the minuscule flashes of orange from fireflies. When my night vision finally kicks in, I set out for the far left side of the field. There seems to be a lot of activity over there, and since the top people on my avoid at all costs list are back in the viper pit splashing and screeching, it seems like my best bet. I'm really not up for any more unpleasant exchanges, so if anyone else is nasty to me, I'm out of here. I'll have to tell Kayla and Rachel they were right. I shouldn't have come, and I'm forever destined to be a Class C. As I draw closer to the commotion, the smell of pot hits my nostrils, and I veer away, like I've ricocheted off a wall. If people want to fry their brains right before finals, that's their business. Off to the right, I spot a couple of dark figures near a bank of large evergreens. Over a symphony of crickets, I hear male voices and the unmistakable yapping of a small dog. "Who goes there?" a deep voice calls out. I detect the hint of an accent, but I can't quite place it. I'm hesitant to say my name after the lovely greetings I've gotten this evening, so I whisper, "Blair," hoping he won't really be able to hear me that well. I brace myself for the worst, but the guy doesn't say anything bad. To my surprise, he drawls, "Hi, Blair. I'm Frank, and this is Davy." "How you doing?" Davy asks with a playful lilt. Wow, they know who I am, and they're still being friendly? "I'm good, thanks," I say. "Is this a puppy?" I can hardly make out the outline of the perky dog, but I crouch down to pet its super soft head. "Yep, she's mine," Davy replies. "She's a black lab. Kind of hard to see her out here tonight." The puppy is going nuts, twirling around, jumping on my legs. "She's so cute. How old is she?" 10 weeks yesterday. We got her a few days ago," he says. "She's really a baby," I remark. "What's her name?" "Lady Gaga. My little sister Danielle is obsessed with Lady Gaga, and my mom made the mistake of letting her name the dog." "It could be worse," I say. "My neighbors named their dogs Butt Sniffer and Kissy Face." David and Frank both laugh. "Hey, you're pretty funny," Frank says. "Do you have a boyfriend?" "Frankie," Davy cautions. "She doesn't want to get involved with someone from Richmond." "Richmond?" That catches me by surprise. "What are you doing up here?" "I'm just up for the weekend. I used to be Davy's neighbor here in Cedar Woods, but we had to move 4 years ago when my dad took a job down in Richmond. We came back up this weekend for a big anniversary party my aunt and uncle are having tomorrow night." "That's great that you guys are still friends," I say. "Best friends," Davy corrects. The two boys clink their beer cans in a toast to their long-standing friendship. It's such a black night, I can't really make out their faces, but I can tell that Frankie is way taller than Davy. "Would you like one?" Frankie asks as he plunges his hand into a bag on the ground. My parents would kill me if they found out, but after wrestling with my conscience for a few seconds, I give in to the moment. This is a party. I'm not driving, not until I get my license in the fall anyway, and a few swigs of beer won't hurt. "I'd love one, thanks." I stop petting Lady Gaga and reach for the beer. The puppy keeps leaping, trying to climb up my body with her claws. "She really likes you," Davy observes, "but she does get overexcited." He moves closer to gently pat the frisky pup on the rear. "Sit," he commands. Lady Gaga completely ignores him and continues barking, stretching her short furry paws up my legs. "Sit," I order the puppy. She instantly drops to the ground and sits. "Hey, how did you do that?" Davy asks. Frankie answers before I can utter a word. "She's a chicks dog, that's how. She only listens to chicks. I bet your sister is training her that way." Frankie's pretty funny himself. Too bad he lives in Virginia. "Actually," I say, "I volunteer at the animal shelter and spend a lot of time training dogs. We would have gotten a lab ourselves, but my dad is allergic, so we got a Portuguese water dog instead. They have hair instead of fur." Davy nods. "Yeah, my girlfriend is allergic too, even to this tiny thing." He scoops up the black fur ball and pulls her to his chest. Of course he has a girlfriend. It's the same story every time I meet someone nice. At this rate, I'll be 25 before I have my first boyfriend. "I'll be right back," Frankie announces. "I had a really long drive up here and a killer history final today, so I'm going to go over there for a few hits." After he leaves, Davy says, "He needs to relax. He's so wound up, he's making me crazy." Well, I think we're all going to be crazy like him by the end of that next week. I'm probably going to need electroshock therapy. Davy chuckles. Frankie's right. You really are funny, but I don't think I've ever met you before. You go to Westbury? Unfortunately, yes, but I don't want to talk about school anymore. I came here to forget about finals. Next week's going to be bad enough. I hear you. I'd rather talk about anything else. Hey, are you cold? You look like you're shivering. The little cami and cutoff shorts I've got on over my bathing suit are doing nothing to keep me warm, and the chilly ground has seeped right through my paper-thin flip-flops. Add to that the icy beer, and I'm coated in goosebumps, my arms pulled tight into my chest. Yeah, I'm freezing, I say through chattering teeth. I didn't realize it was going to be this cold tonight, and my feet got wet from the grass. Why don't you take my sweatshirt, Davy offers. I don't need it. He reaches behind him and he pulls a dark garment off the top of the fence. You sure? Yeah, I'm not cold at all. You might as well have it. Thanks. I gratefully slip the shirt over my head. It's soft and thick and it's got that wonderful fresh out of the dryer scent. Hey, have you been to that new virtual reality center in the mall? He asks. I just spent 5 hours there the past weekend with Rachel, Kayla, and our other close friend, Carrie, and none of us wanted to leave. That place is awesome, I say. I wasn't sure if girls would like it. Are you kidding? I'm going to enter an esports tournament there as soon as finals are over. There's excitement in his voice as he says, I want to do that too. We spend the next 20 minutes discovering that we have tons in common. There's a giant overlap in our favorite sports teams, food, music, and movies. When Lady Gaga starts pouncing on me again, we both drop to the grass to play with her. We're rolling around, laughing, getting to know each other. When it hits me that maybe I do belong here after all, I just need to stay away from the nasty girls. I watch as David props the puppy up on her hind legs and tries to dance with her. She's such a great dog, he says, but I've got to give her a better name. Chuckling, I take another sip of beer. It's still super cold, but I like it. You know, your sister may be onto something. At the shelter, we had this poor dog Peasley that was there for over 3 years. We posted cute pictures of him online and taught him tricks, but he was a mongrel with odd coloring and no one ever picked him. One Saturday morning, I decided to do an experiment. I changed the name on his cage to Bon Jovi, BJ for short, since it's kind of like Peasley, and underneath put favorite song, Who Says You Can't Go Home. We played it over the speakers during visiting hours, and that afternoon, he was the first one out the door. This couple loved Bon Jovi and had to have him. I could see him nodding in the dark. That's a nice story, but what are the odds of it happening again? Pretty good, I say. There were 2 cats, a brother and sister, that were there for 4 years, and after Bon Jovi worked, we renamed them Beyonce and Jay-Z, and they were also adopted within a day. People love rock stars. David releases Lady Gaga and she dives into my arms, wriggling over my shoulder and down my my back, her sharp claws leaving a trail of puncture wounds. She races around us in fast circles until David catches her and pulls her onto his lap. Okay, you've convinced me. Maybe I'll just call her LG. Frankie lumbers back over and is totally wasted. He's no longer the charming Southern gentleman I'd liked only minutes earlier. Instead, he's a complete jerk, singing loudly and cackling at his own cringy jokes. The marvelous time I've been having with Davy comes to a screeching halt. Even in the pitch black, I can tell from Davy's tone that he's not too pleased with his buddy either. Listen, guys, this was really fun, I say, springing to my feet, but I must have 100 bug bites from being out here, and I need to find the ladies' room. I'll catch up with you later. I edge away in the direction of the pool and yell back, thanks again for the beer. Although I hate to bail on Davy, I have to get away from Frankie. And I'm not kidding about the bug bites for the ladies' room. My legs are itching like crazy, especially around the ankles, and I really do need a bathroom. Darn. As I get to the patio area, I realize I'm a total idiot. I left so hastily, I never found out Davy's last name or grade. God, I hope he's not a freshman. I wouldn't mind going out with someone a grade lower, but definitely not 2. But it doesn't matter anyway, I tell myself. He already has a girlfriend, and why would he want me? All right.
Okay.
And, chapter 3.
So that's an introduction to Ice Queen by Felicia Farber. And tomorrow from 11 to 12, she'll be answering questions. It's your opportunity to discuss with her the chapters and find out if you have any ice queens living in your schoolyard or in your school district. And remember, this is not a far cry from the Texas cheerleader problems when girls would not make the cheerleader squad for various and sundry reasons, and the mean girls got together and haunted them. And it's not a big stretch for kids to beat up kids in the schoolyard to take their money away from them. It's just another form of bullying. October is Cyber Bullying Month. So go talk to your teachers and your parents and see how you can learn how to protect yourselves. Because, folks, this problem isn't going to go away. In fact, it's in its infancy, and it'll just get worse if you don't learn how to protect yourself. I know I was bullied in school, and I hated school, couldn't wait to graduate. And I graduated, and I found out the kids who bullied me as kids had now turned into adults who bullied me. But they were in for a bad day because I didn't give them the ammunition to pick on me anymore. Think about that. So we want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. You can hear this video all over again on youtube.com, 2 channels /PWTR and Passionate World Network. You can also see it on facebook.com / Lillian Cola 35, which is Passionate World Talk Radio. You can also see it on https:// passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear the audio on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeart, Podchaser, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, you name it, it is there. You cannot, as they say, you cannot not find it. It is out there. And we're in all the social media directories. So you have an opportunity for that. Then tomorrow, 11 to 12 Eastern. So if you're in California, that means 8 o'clock in the morning. Central, 9 o'clock in the morning. France, you're 6 hours apart. Just use your fingers and toes. You'll get there. And if you want to show up on the conference phone line tomorrow, please email me at lsc@passionateworldtalkradio.com or 712-770-5344. Email me for the PIN number. Sounds pretty easy. You have anything you would like to add before we wrap it up?
Well, I want to thank you again. This was so much fun to be here, and I would love to hear about other people's experiences tomorrow. If you do have questions, if you know of anybody that some type of sexting or cyberbullying situation happened to, because once you start talking to people about it, basically everybody will tell you, oh, this happened to my neighbor, this happened to my son's friend, this happened to my daughter. So it's out there. It's just not something that people really talk about, and you only hear the really, really bad things when they end up making it onto the news. So, please check out my website, my book. Just do your own Google search on this topic so that you're informed. No matter what state or country you're in, please make sure that you know what the applicable laws are in your region of the world, because it's very, very important that nobody that you know, that you care about, or yourself falls into a sexting or cyberbullying trap. And one thing that we didn't mention that I'd like to point out is that there are actually things called sexting rings, where there are organized groups of kids. We're not talking about adults, but we're talking about kids in school that will gather these pictures, put them together, and exchange them. And that has happened here in the States, in Virginia, Connecticut, Colorado, Nevada. We've had big sexting rings. So on so many levels, this is so important. But on a personal level, I would love to talk to you tomorrow and hear about your own experiences or those of others you know, and answer any questions.
Terrific. So thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you, everyone.